Welcome to episode 2 of Nonlinear Storybits, where in this episode we're going to talk about some of the interesting naming traditions that we find in Chinese history. You may be wondering, why did this idea even come up in the first place? Well, it kind of came up because my brother and I were talking about some Ming Dynasty history, and I realized that I had absolutely no idea who he was talking about. And it wasn't until, halfway through the conversation, I realized that we were both talking about the same person, Yongle, Emperor. But then I was wondering, why did we not know who we were talking about for a good half of the conversation? And I realized that because we were referring to him, the same person, with two different names. He was referring to him as Yongle Emperor, which is the name you often find on Wikipedia and often the English translation of this emperor. Well, I was referring to him by his temple name, Ming Chenzu. And so this led me to wondering, what are these different names that you see with these emperors? So today we're going to be talking about these names, and their names are the temple name of emperors, the posthumous names of emperors, and the year name, or in other words, the era name of that emperor. So let's first talk about the temple name. What is a temple name? The temple name is made up of two words that you can see, miao and hao. Miao refers to temple, the grand temple, or tai miao in this case. So the tai miao is a place where emperors would honor their ancestors. Many families in China have this type of ancestral hall and stuff, but they would not call them tai miao because tai miao, the grand temple, is reserved only for the imperial family. Most common people would have Citang, or the ancestral hall. So all grand temples are ancestral halls, but not all ancestral halls are grand temples. And Citang itself is actually made up of two interesting words too. Ci meaning phrase, and Tang meaning atrium or a hall. So put together, you have a phrase hall. If you can think about it, a lot of your ancestral names are, phrases, or there's phrases associated with your ancestors. So therefore, you have Citang, and Hao itself means name. So overall, you have temple name. Now let's look at Shi Hao, or your posthumous name. Shi itself means a posthumous title, and as we mentioned before, Hao means name, so you have a posthumous title name. Overall, you have the posthumous name. And finally, we have Nian Hao. Nian itself means year, or in this case specifically, the era, the era that this emperor is ruling in. And then Hao, as we mentioned again, is the name or title. So you have year name. So with these three names, the unique aspect is that Nian Hao is the only title or only name that the emperor and the people of that emperor's time would know while the emperor was still alive, because both the temple name and the posthumous name, as its name suggests, are given to the emperor by later generations after this emperor had already died. So you would never call an emperor during his lifetime by his temple name or his posthumous name, because they wouldn't even know it, because they aren't given to him yet by that time. So let's take a look specifically at Zhu Yuanzhang, whom we talked about last time, and his different names. So he has the temple name of Ming Taizu, his posthumous name as 开天行道赵季立即大圣至神人文义武俊德成功高皇帝, which is his posthumous name. And then his Nian Hao, or his era, is called Hong Wu. So the first year in which Zhu Yuanzhang was ruling would be called Hong Wu. Yuan Nian, meaning the first year. And then maybe 10 years later, his 10th year in his rule would be called Hong Wu. 10年, because that would be the 10th year of this Hong Wu reign. So now let's that was 朱元璋. Let's just take a quick look at another example. So let's take a look at the third emperor of the Ming Dynasty, where we have 朱棣, or 永乐 emperor. So his temple name was 明成祖. His 谥号, or his posthumous name, was 启天弘道高明赵运圣武神功纯仁至孝文皇帝. And his 年号 was 永乐. So my brother was referring to 朱棣 as 永乐 emperor, and I was referring to him as 明成祖. It didn't click at that moment right away that we were actually all talking about that same person. So now that we've looked at some examples, let's also look into three pretty important aspects about these different names. One we already mentioned before, and that's that only 年号 is given to the emperor during his reign. Both the 庙号, the temple name, and 谥号, posthumous name, are only given to the emperor after he's already dead. And they're usually given in honor and respect for that previous emperor by that later generation. So let's look at a second aspect. The second aspect is that under normal circumstances, any emperor before the Tang Dynasty, which we had briefly looked at the timeline of Chinese history before in the last episode, would be referred to by their 谥号, whereas any dynasty after the Tang Dynasty, like the Ming Dynasty, the emperors would be referred to by their 庙号, or temple name. So for example, let's look at Han Dynasty, which is way before the Tang Dynasty. So there's this emperor in Han Dynasty called Han Wudi, where Wudi is his posthumous name, and his full posthumous name is 孝武皇帝, or very pious and strong emperor. The fact that it's only 4 characters might be a reason why they're referred to them, why these emperors are being referred to by their posthumous names, whereas, for example, Ming Chao's third emperor, Zhu Di, his posthumous name was 19 characters long. So maybe that's why. So after Tang Dynasty, generally referred to emperors by their temple names, such as Ming Taizu or Ming Chenzu. And finally, the last important aspect of these different types of names is that all these characters that are chosen for these emperors have very specific meanings. So if we look at the Zhu Di or Ming Chenzu, his character Wen is always associated with compassionate and benevolence. And then if we look at the Han emperor's name, Han Wudi, Wu is always referred to as strong, often associated with military achievements, being wise and morally upright. So just by their names, you can kind of tell what were the achievements or what do later generations think of that previous emperor. So it can be good words such as Wen or Wu, but it can also be pretty bad words that kind of slightly, throw some shade at that emperor. I hope you learned something today, and I'll see you in the next episode of Non-Linear Storybits.